Well, I'd never heard of Ezra Maas until early 90s. And I was approached by this American publisher, Robert Graff, who was the publisher and editor of this small line of independent comics called Cult Comics. And apparently he'd met Ezra Maas at a comic convention in New York, I think one of the Big Apple conventions. And he'd approached him and said, would you, I have this great idea for a comic story, you know, would you publish it? And, you know, the reason he approached a small independent publisher like Robert's outfit was that he hated big corporations, and he'd never have worked for DC or Marvel or Dark Horse. He got my number from a friend of mine called Tasha Lowe, who was working for Cult Comics. I eventually got his Ezra's phone number given to me, and we sort of discussed it over the phone. This before emails and things. Yeah, I never actually met him in person. He never left New York to come and see me or anything like that. It was all over the phone, you know, 20 or 30 phone calls, something like that. And faxes, sometimes he'd send me crazy faxes with sort of doodles on. So I never actually met him. Working with him was very hard, extremely difficult, because I mean, I like a very tightly plotted story, and I did the sort of I came up with the main plot, main structure for the plot. In fact, it's here. That's the structure for the whole graphic novella. He'd ring me in the middle of the night, because he used to be very influenced by dreams, and he kept a dream diary by his bed, and he placed, I think, as much importance on dreams as reality. And he'd phone me up and say, Luke, I've got a great idea. I just had this fantastic dream. And I'm in a supermarket and I meet Richard Nixon, and he pulls a gun out of his pocket and he's holding it at my head. And I want this scene in the book. And I'm saying to him, look, it's a story set in, you know, the Renaissance, you know, with Leonardo da Vinci. And I said, I can't shoehorn this into this story. It just wouldn't work, because, you know, doing a structure for a book, it's like building a brick wall. You take some bricks out, they all collapses. I think he was actually bipolar, you know, because sometimes he'd phone up and it'd be lovely and he'd have these great ideas and things, and then other times he was, you know, he'd phone me up and he was crazy. He was shouting down the phone. It was too much. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really speak to him after, I think it was about 2000, when one day Ezra walked into the Cult Comics office, which was a little office at the back of a comic shop, which was also called Cult Comics. It was all owned by Robert Graff. And he said, oh, I've just come to collect the artwork. Now, I don't know whether he got it published or what, but I actually did a cover, a new cover for the book, which is the only piece of artwork that I have from the experience. I think he takes a great, very important place in contemporary culture, because he was sort of behind a lot of things, not his own work as such, as the sort of influence he had on other people. I mean, I heard he was a good friend of Andy Warhol's. I don't know if that's true or not, but he used a lot of pseudonyms as well, and he was sort of behind the scenes in a lot of major artistic events in the counterculture, the 60s and 70s. I don't know whether he's still alive or not. I mean, I used to have his phone number, but that was in my old address book, which fell to pieces, and it was after I'd stopped talking to him, so it wasn't one of the addresses I copied over. So I can't even give his phone number to find out. But he was cantankerous, he was eccentric, he could be very charming, and it could be very infuriating, but in the end he was a sort of creative genius, and his imagination was fantastic, just unbridled.